superintendents, to all of the pastors, to the state supervisor, Mother Hooks and her cabinet, to all of you, the people of the Lord. Has the Lord been good to anybody? Well, maybe you didn't quite understand what I asked you. Has the Lord been good to anybody? Has the Lord made a way for anybody? Has the Lord opened a door for anybody? I would like to thank my adjutants, Deacon Elder Whitmore and Deacon Glover. Would you please stand? I will ask you to help me appreciate them. My youngest granddaughter is here someplace. Where is Naisha? All right, there she is. There she is. Thank you so very, very much. What a joy, what a joy, what a joy. I'm just so excited. I'm just trying to act like I'm dignified and all that kind of stuff. Of course, I'm in the presence of Bishop Dixon, but I'm jumping all over on the inside. Thank you for this invitation. I appreciate you and the invitation so very, very much. Bishop Dixon and I have been friends since we were probably teenagers or so. He was one of the first bishops when I was elevated to the position of Jurisdictional Bishop of Southern California. First jurisdiction, he was one of the first bishops to welcome me to the College of Bishops. I appreciate that. He's been a friend for many years. He is a progressive person. Would you help me celebrate Bishop Roy? The Gospel Memorial Church will never be the same. He did a eulogy there some years ago. And our church will never, ever be the same. My friend preached to look like rafters was going to come down. Of course, I don't need to tell you that. You know him. You know that. You know he is somebody's preacher. And I greet you from the Gospel Memorial Church, Long Beach and Southern California, First Ecclesiastical Jurisdiction of Southern California. What a joy it is to be here. I've observed your manner, and I see you folks like to have church. You know, some folks don't like to have church. You know, some folks just like to spectate. I've beheld your manner, and God bless the choir and the music department. We bless our heart. To the inspirational preacher, I wish we could have changed places. Lord knows I enjoyed you. I certainly wish I was doing the inspirational message and you was where I am. Thank you for a rich and wonderful word from the Lord. May I call your attention to the book of Luke, chapter number 10, verses 30 through 34. Gospel according to Luke, chapter number 10, verses 30 through 34. If you would be so kind as to stand with me, I'm going to ask if you would be kind enough to read along with me, beginning at verse 30. And Jesus answered and said, a certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among thieves, who stripped him of his raiment and wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. Fell among thieves, which stripped him of his raiment and wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. In my chance, there came down a certain priest that way, And when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. And likewise, a Levite, when he was at the place, came and looked on him and passed by on the other side. But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion on him. And he went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring in oil and wine, and set him on his own beast and brought him to the inn and took care of him. Thank you. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. For a few minutes tonight, I want to talk about don't focus on what you lost. Do something with what you have left. When you look at somebody and say, don't focus on what you lost. Do something with what you have left. Now, turn around and look at somebody behind you and say, don't focus on what you lost. Do something with what you have left. Bishop, I have some professional friends who are professional preachers. And they tell folk, I'm going to preach anyhow. They have arrived at that place, that plateau in their ministry and in their profession that they can preach anyhow. I've been preaching most of my life, but I haven't got there yet. So I need everybody's help. Will you please pray for the preacher? In the text, Jesus tells the story of the Good Samaritan, which is probably one of the best known stories of the entire Bible. Jesus begins the story. A certain man. Jesus doesn't give us the identity of this man, just a certain man. Jesus doesn't identify his race, nor his clan, nor his social class or status. We don't even know what language this man spoke. All we know was that he was a certain man. He could have been anybody. He could have been anybody. The journey from Jerusalem to Jericho was 17 dangerous miles. In the story, Jesus has the man's clothing torn off of him, and so the man is unconscious, so we can't identify him by his clothing. We can't see his label on his garment. Whether it was a designer garment or whether it came from Jose Pine. We don't know. We can't even identify him by his clothing. We don't know whether he was a poor man, whether he was a rich man. We just don't know. Jesus didn't want us to be prejudiced, and so he just said a certain man. In the story, Jesus leaves the man naked, and so he's also unconscious, so you can't hear his accent to ascertain who he might have been. Jesus was trying in this story to let us understand that human need is so prevalent, and he understood that if we knew the man's ethnicity or if we knew anything about the man, some of us would have helped him because of his ethnicity. All we know that the man was suffering, that he had been hurt, and that he had suffered great loss. If he had been our race, had he been our class, had he been our status, had he been a member of our church, then we would have helped him because we would have had some things in common with him. But Jesus only lets us know that he was a human being in need who had been beaten, robbed, and left half